Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Education. Can the Minister update the House on supports for Aboriginal students in our education system?
Minister for Education.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'm very pleased to be able to receive this question from the member for Narungga and understand his very strong interest in supporting our Aboriginal students across South Australia, including in his electorate, to fulfil their potential. And with next week, of course, being NAIDOC Week and this month being NAIDOC Month, it's a very timely question. And so there's a lot of good work that is being done in the Education Department to support their Aboriginal students and indeed to support the endeavours of reconciliation more generally. This isn't all new work. Some of it's been going for some time, and I acknowledge the works of previous governments who have always taken steps forward, as has been the tradition, has been the trajectory of South Australia as a community. But particularly, I think, in the Education Department, there's a lot of good-spirited people working very hard to ensure that future generations of Aboriginal students are able to be better supported and achieve greater results, greater achievements than they have potentially been in the past. We have an Aboriginal education strategy which was helped to be developed by a committee led by Peter Buckskin and the Department's Chief Executive Rick Purse. I think the first meeting of that was at the beginning of last year, and subsequent meetings since the election have seen that work develop, and it was launched in late last year, and it was a privilege to be able to launch that strategy. It is an ambitious strategy. It has at its heart the idea, of course, that our ambitions and our hopes for all Aboriginal children should be at no less a level than any other child across our education system. And the strategy contains a number of actions that are being undertaken. The committee continues its work in a slightly revised form where, of course, now its committee is no longer developing the strategy, but rather developing measures for which the Education Department may be kept accountable to that. And, of course, the Education Department and all of our schools are working very hard to achieve the goals set out in the strategy and the action plans undertaken. That work within the Education Department is led by the Director of Aboriginal Education. Now, last year, the Director of Aboriginal Education, April Laurie, was appointed as our Commissioner for Aboriginal Children and Young People, the first Commissioner for Aboriginal Children and Young People in South Australia, and April was a terrific appointment and is doing great work. I'm very pleased to announce today that Bronwyn Milera has been appointed as the new Director of Aboriginal Education. As the Deputy Leader of the Opposition would recall, she's the Principal at Gardner Plains School. And is an extremely well-regarded Aboriginal educator, an extremely well-regarded principal in our education system. She's a proud Cookera woman and has a great level of experience in education, as well-regarded. I'm looking forward to working with her as the newest addition to our senior executive group in the Education Department. She won the role after a nationwide call, an advertisement, and a very strong field, and I thank all of those educators who put themselves forward for consideration. There's a range of other works, of course, that are underway, and indeed SASTA, the South Australian Secondary Training Academy, continues its work apace. It's changed its name this year from Sports Training Academy to Secondary Training Academy to reflect the evolving way in which its work is doing, not just engaging and supporting Aboriginal students to complete their SACE and gaining employment pathways through sports, but through a wide range of other endeavours. And indeed, this week it was a privilege with the Premier to be at the Ocean View College, one of our 4 Clontarf Foundation academies, which has benefited from new investment from this government of $2.8 million over the next 3 years to roll out those academies in Port Lincoln, Port Augusta, in Whyalla, and indeed in the Ocean View College in Port Adelaide, Taparoo. It's a wonderful step forward, and those kids are going to school in proportions that they weren't before. 185 students already engaged, students who weren't attending school much last year, and the kids I spoke to are very proud that they've hardly missed a day this year. It's great work, it's important work, and we're proud to continue it.